You didn't choose this life. You arrived in it, quietly, gradually, without ever announcing the decision. There was no single moment where you said, "This is who I want to become." No clear day where you stepped forward and claimed it. It happened differently than that. One responsible choice, then another, then another. You chose what made sense. You chose what was safe. You chose what kept things moving. And at the time, that felt like control. It felt like progress. It felt like building something solid. Yeah. But progress has a strange side effect. It doesn't ask if you're still inside it. You just keep going. You wake up. You follow the structure. You respond to what your life requires. And eventually, the structure becomes your life. Not because you chose it, because you never stopped it. There was no crisis, no collapse, no obvious wrong turn. Just continuation. Until one day, usually in a quiet moment, it hits you. You don't remember choosing any of this. Your routines, your identity, your direction, they feel familiar, but not personal. You recognize the shape of your life, but not the person living it. And that's when the most unsettling question appears. Not suddenly, not loudly, but clearly. If you didn't choose this life, how did you end up inside it? Because slipping doesn't feel like falling. It feels like walking. Walking confidently, walking responsibly, walking exactly where you're supposed to go. Until you realize you never decided if it was where you wanted to be. You just never stopped. At first, it felt temporary, like you were just passing through, just doing what needed to be done, just getting yourself somewhere better. You told yourself this wasn't the destination. This was the transition. And you would choose your real life later, after things stabilized, after things became secure, after you had more freedom. But stability has gravity, and the more stable things became, the harder they were to question. Your routines stopped feeling like choices. They started feeling like obligations. Not because anyone forced you, because everything depended on them. Your income, your identity, your sense of being someone others could rely on. You became necessary to the life you built. And necessity is difficult to escape. You stopped asking yourself dangerous questions. Questions like, do I still want this? Does this still feel like mine? Am I still becoming someone I recognize? Because asking those questions introduces risk. Risk of uncertainty, risk of instability, risk of discovering an answer you can't undo. So instead, you focused on continuing. You improved what was already there. You optimized what was already working. You became better at maintaining it. And from the outside, it looked like success. Your life became smoother, more predictable, more secure. But internally, something else was happening. You stopped feeling chosen by your own life. You started feeling assigned to it. Not trapped, not forced. Just placed. Placed inside a structure that kept moving, whether you felt connected to it or not. And over time, you adapted to that feeling. You stopped expecting your life to feel intentional. You stopped expecting it to feel alive. You accepted something quieter, something more functional, yet something that didn't require you to be fully there. And that's when slipping becomes invisible. Because from the outside, it still looks like walking forward. Even when, internally, you've stopped deciding where you're going. Slipping doesn't feel dangerous when it begins. It feels reasonable. It feels like maturity. It feels like responsibility. It feels like becoming someone your past self needed you to be. You stop chasing uncertainty. You stop taking emotional risks. You stop choosing based on instinct. You start choosing based on sustainability. What can last? What won't collapse? What won't threaten everything you've already built? And at first, this feels like wisdom. You become harder to destabilize, harder to disrupt, harder to hurt. You become someone who can endure. And endurance earns respect. People trust you more, depend on you more, expect more from you. And expectations are powerful. They slowly replace intention. You stop asking yourself what feels right. You start asking yourself what makes sense. Not what makes you feel alive. What keeps your life intact? Because intact becomes your definition of success. Not alive, not present, intact. You learn how to maintain yourself. You learn how to regulate yourself. You learn how to continue, even when continuing feels distant. And distance becomes normal. Yeah. You notice it in quiet moments, moments where you should feel something. You achieve something important, and your reaction is delayed, muted, almost procedural. You smile, but it feels rehearsed. You celebrate, but it feels assigned. You say the right words, but they don't feel owned. Because ownership requires presence. Yeah. And presence is what slipping slowly removes. You are still there physically, still there socially, still there structurally. But internally, you are slightly behind your own life. Like an echo that follows the original sound. Yeah. Not absent enough to alarm anyone, but absent enough to feel it yourself. You start to realize something uncomfortable. Your life is no longer something you're creating. It's something you're continuing. Continuing because stopping would disrupt too much. Continuing because changing would risk too much. Continuing because slipping forward became easier than stepping back. And this is where the illusion becomes complete. Because continuation looks identical to purpose from the outside. You wake up early. You stay disciplined. You fulfill your responsibilities. You make progress. Everything about your life signals intention. Except the part where you never consciously chose it. You inherited it. Inherited it from your past decisions. Inherited it from your past fears. Inherited it from the version of yourself who needed safety more than aliveness. And safety became your architect. Not desire, not curiosity, not presence. Safety. Safety built your routines. Safety built your identity. Safety built the structure you now live inside. And safety never asked you if you wanted to stay. It only asked you to continue. And you did. Because continuing is invisible. Yes. No one questions continuation. No one interrupts continuation. No one asks you if continuation still feels true. They assume it does. Because from the outside, it looks like progress. But progress without presence is just distance in motion. You begin to notice how automatic everything has become, how predictable your reactions are, how scripted your days feel. Not because someone wrote them, because you stopped rewriting them. You became loyal to a life you don't remember choosing. Not out of passion, out of momentum. Momentum is powerful. It carries you forward, even when you're no longer steering. And the longer momentum continues, the harder it becomes to interrupt. Because interruption requires confrontation. Confrontation with uncertainty, confrontation with loss, confrontation with yourself. So instead, you adapt. You refine yourself to fit the structure. You silence the parts of yourself that question it. You reward yourself for maintaining it. And eventually, maintenance replaces meaning. You stop asking, is this who I am? You start asking, how do I keep this from falling apart? And that question changes everything. Because now, your life isn't something you inhabit. It's something you protect. You protect your routines. You protect your identity. You protect the version of yourself everyone recognizes. Even if protecting it means slowly disappearing inside it. And then one day, there's a moment, small, unremarkable, but irreversible. You realize if you had the chance to choose your life today, exactly as it is, you don't know if you would. Not because it's bad. Because it doesn't feel chosen. It feels inherited. Inherited by a version of you who no longer exists. And suddenly, the most dangerous realization appears. You didn't lose your way. You never consciously chose one. You followed what made sense. You followed what was safe. You followed what kept everything stable. And stability quietly became your destination. Not because you arrived. Because you never stopped moving toward it. And now, you are here. Inside a life that functions. Inside a life that continues. Inside a life that works. And you can't remember when it stopped feeling like yours. There is a moment when the momentum slows down just enough for you to see it. Not from the outside, from inside it. It doesn't happen during chaos. It happens during stability. When everything is working, when nothing is wrong, when your life finally becomes quiet enough to hear yourself again. And what you hear is unfamiliar. Not because it's new, because it's been ignored. A voice that doesn't sound like your routines. A voice that doesn't sound like your responsibilities. A voice that doesn't sound like the person you've been performing as. It sounds like you. Not the adapted you. Not the stable you. Not the version that learned how to continue no matter what. The version that existed before continuation became your identity. And it asks a question. That changes everything. Not, is your life working? But, is it yours? Because working and belonging are not the same thing. A life can work perfectly and still not belong to you. A life can function flawlessly and still feel inherited. Inherited from expectations. Inherited from fear. Inherited from survival. Not chosen from presence. And this is where the illusion begins to fracture. You start to see how many of your decisions were never decisions. They were responses. Responses to pressure. Responses to uncertainty. Responses to the need for safety. You didn't choose the path that felt most alive. You chose the path that felt least dangerous. And danger doesn't just mean physical risk. It means emotional exposure. It means uncertainty. It means the possibility of losing everything you've already built. So you avoided it. Not because you were weak, because you were intelligent, because you understood consequences, because you understood how fragile stability can be. And once you built stability, you protected it. You organized your life around it. You shaped yourself around it. You became loyal to it. Even when it stopped feeling like you. Because stability became your proof. Proof that you were safe. Proof that you were capable. Proof that you were someone who survived. But survival was never supposed to be permanent. Survival was supposed to be temporary. A bridge, not a destination. And yet, you built your home on that bridge. You decorated it. You reinforced it. You convinced yourself it was solid ground. Even when part of you knew you were never meant to stay there forever. This is the moment most people avoid. Not because it's dramatic, because it's honest. Honest enough to expose the truth. You didn't consciously choose your life. You adapted into it. Adaptation is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't ask permission. It slowly replaces intention with continuation. Until continuation feels like identity, you begin to believe this is who you are. Not because you chose it, because you repeated it. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity creates attachment. Attachment creates loyalty. Even when loyalty costs you your presence. You stay loyal to the structure. You stay loyal to the identity. You stay loyal to the life that no longer feels like yours. Because leaving it would require something terrifying. Choice. Choice means responsibility. Choice means uncertainty. Choice means stepping out of momentum and facing yourself without it. And momentum protects you from that confrontation. Momentum keeps you moving. Momentum keeps you continuing. Momentum keeps you from asking questions that don't have safe answers. So you continue. You continue being the person everyone recognizes. You continue being the person your life depends on. You continue being the person you've practiced becoming. Even when internally, you begin to feel the distance. The distance between who you are and who you became to survive. And that distance creates a quiet tension, not loud enough to interrupt your life, but constant enough to feel. You feel it in moments where everything is fine, but nothing feels meaningful. You feel it in moments where everything is stable, but nothing feels alive. You feel it in moments where everything is working, but nothing feels chosen. And that's when the most unsettling realization finally arrives. You can continue like this forever. You can maintain it. You can protect it. You can survive inside it. And no one will stop you. Because from the outside, nothing is wrong. Everyone will assume this is your life. Everyone will assume this is who you are. Everyone will assume this is what you chose. even if it wasn't. Even if you slipped into it. Even if the version of you living this life is not the version of you who would choose it today. And that realization changes the way you see everything. But not because it forces you to act, because it makes it impossible to pretend you already did. There is a specific kind of grief that has no event, no breakup, no failure, no visible loss. Just a quiet awareness that something important never happened. And you never consciously arrived. So you never stood still long enough to ask yourself if this was what you wanted. You were moving the entire time, moving forward, moving responsibly, moving correctly, but never stopping. And stopping is where choice lives. Without stopping, there is no decision. Only continuation. You told yourself you would stop later, when things were easier, when things were safer, when you had more time. But later never interrupts momentum. Momentum feeds on delay. It carries you forward while convincing you you're still in control. Until one day, you realize something terrifying. Your life no longer needs your permission to continue. It wakes up without asking you. It moves without consulting you. It progresses without including you. Not because it's against you. Because you trained it to. You trained yourself to respond automatically, to adapt automatically, to continue automatically. An automatic continuation is efficient. It protects you from uncertainty. It protects you from instability. It protects you from having to confront yourself. But protection has a hidden cost. It removes you from the process. You stop being the author. You become the maintenance. You maintain your routines. You maintain your identity. You maintain your life. Even when maintaining that feels like managing something that doesn't belong to you. You start to notice how much of your life feels inherited, not chosen. Inherited from the person you were, inherited from the fears you had, inherited from the moment you prioritized safety over possibility. And safety kept its promise. It kept you intact. But it also kept you still. Still inside a life that continued growing, without ever asking if you were growing with it. And this is where the truth becomes unavoidable. You didn't consciously build your life. You adapted into it. You became the person your circumstances required, not the person your presence would have chosen. An adaptation is powerful. It can build entire identities, entire futures, entire lives, without ever asking if they belong to you. That's the moment it finally hits you. Not loudly, not dramatically, but permanently. You are living a life that arrived faster than your awareness did. You became someone before you had the chance to decide who you wanted to be. And now you are here, inside a life that continues, inside a life that functions, inside a life that works. And the only question left is one you can no longer ignore. If you didn't choose this life then, what does it mean to finally see it now? Seeing it changes something. Not outside, inside. Your life doesn't immediately transform. Your routines don't suddenly disappear. Your responsibilities don't release you. Everything remains where it was. But you don't experience it the same way anymore. Because now, you can see the momentum. You can feel how it carries you. You can feel how it moves you forward, without ever asking if you want to go. And for the first time, you notice how often you say yes, without deciding. Yes to routines. Yes to expectations. Yes to the identity you inherited. Not because you chose it, because it was already in motion. Momentum removes friction. Momentum removes hesitation. Momentum removes the moment, where choice normally lives. You begin to realize how long it's been since you felt that moment. The moment where you stopped and genuinely asked yourself, is this me? Is this mine? Is this still true? Because stopping feels dangerous. Stopping interrupts everything. Stopping threatens stability. Stopping exposes uncertainty. But stopping is the only place where your life can meet you again. Momentum can carry your body. It cannot carry your presence. Presence requires interruption. Presence requires awareness. Presence requires you to exist inside your own direction. And direction cannot exist without choice. And this is the paradox you've been living inside. Your life has direction, but you didn't choose it. It was assembled from continuation, reinforced by repetition, maintained by fear of disruption. And fear is powerful. Not because it forces you to stay, because it convinces you there is nowhere else to go. It convinces you this must be your path, because it's the one you've already walked. It convinces you this must be your identity, because it's the one everyone recognizes. It convinces you this must be your life, because it's the one that exists. But existence and alignment are not the same thing. A life can exist without ever being consciously lived. And you can remain inside it without ever consciously arriving. Until now. Because awareness interrupts momentum. Awareness creates space. Space creates friction. Friction creates choice. And choice is something momentum cannot control. Choice belongs to you. Not the version of you who adapted. Not the version of you who continued automatically. You. The one who can see it now. The one who can feel the difference between continuing and choosing. This doesn't mean everything changes immediately. It means something more important changes first. You stop assuming your life is inevitable. You stop assuming your identity is permanent. You stop assuming continuation is your only option. You begin to see that your life is not something that happened to you. It's something you can still enter. Not by escaping it, not by destroying it. By finally being present inside it. By interrupting the automatic responses. By questioning what you previously accepted. By allowing uncertainty to exist without immediately silencing it. Because uncertainty is not the enemy. Uncertainty is where choice lives. And choice is where your life becomes yours again. Not the life you inherited. The life you consciously step into. For the first time. Not because momentum carried you there. Because you arrived. Arriving doesn't look dramatic. There is no single decision that changes everything. No visible moment where your old life ends and your real life begins. It happens quietly, internally. In the moment you stop assuming this is who you have to be. You begin to notice the difference between continuing and choosing. Continuing feels automatic. Choosing feels intentional. Continuing feels familiar. Choosing feels uncertain. And uncertainty used to scare you, because uncertainty meant risk. Uncertainty meant instability. Uncertainty meant losing everything you built. But now, uncertainty feels different. And it feels honest. Because for the first time, you are not being carried forward. You are standing still long enough to exist. Not as the person your life shaped you into, as the person who can finally see it. You see how much of your identity was built from adaptation, how much of your direction was built from momentum, how much of your life was built from survival. And survival was never wrong. Survival protected you. Survival carried you. Survival got you here. But survival was never meant to replace you. It was meant to preserve you until you could return. And returning doesn't mean becoming someone new. It means becoming present. Present inside your decisions. Present inside your direction. Present inside your own existence. Not watching it. Not maintaining it. Living it. For the first time, you feel something unfamiliar. Not certainty. Ownership. Ownership of your choices. Ownership of your direction. Ownership of your life. Not because everything changed. Because you did. You are no longer moving automatically. You are no longer continuing unconsciously. You are no longer disappearing inside momentum. Yet, you are here. And being here changes everything, even if nothing outside changes yet. Because now, your life is no longer something you inherited. It's something you are inhabiting. You begin to see that your life was never truly fixed, never truly permanent, never truly decided. It was simply waiting for you to arrive inside it. Not the version of you who adapted to survive. The version of you who chose to exist. And maybe this is the moment that matters most. Not the moment your life began, the moment you finally entered it. It's because the truth was never that you chose wrong. The truth was simpler. You never stopped long enough to choose it all. Until now. And now, for the first time, this life is not just something you slipped into. It's something you are finally here to live.